Hi, and welcome to QuadCast. So today we are going to have a little session about discussing digital marketing for manufacturers. So this is an area that we work a lot in. A lot of our clients, current and previous, are based in the manufacturing sector. So we are sort of quite experienced in that area. And we thought it'd be very useful to have a discussion between us. And also joining us today is Martin from Definition Media. So Definition Media are a video production company specialising in corporate video for manufacturing businesses. So welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So let's get started. Let's have a little chat about what we think about the manufacturing industry and how it kind of looks like today in terms of digital marketing. And obviously you're coming at it from an area of video. So let's get started.
Excellent. So Tim, had you done some research into marketing budgets?
Yeah, we'd seen a report recently where they reckoned 43.5% of manufacturing respondents to a survey said that they were going to increase their allocation to their marketing budgets in 2025 as opposed to only 35% last year. I imagine this is a bit of a response to predictions of future hard times and restructuring of the marketplace, shall we say, with various tariffs and things being floated about the place, which have literally just landed within a couple of days of us recording the podcast. I think the landscape's going to become a lot more competitive and people need to focus a lot more on getting their messages out there as far as their actual products and the solutions that they're providing. I know a lot of people tend to, pull budgets in wherever they can, but certainly a lot of people seem to agree with our point of view that now is probably the best time to start investing in outward-facing marketing to, either reinforce their current marketplaces or look further afield into new markets or even new sectors that they supply.
And I think one thing that sort of springs to mind is within the manufacturing sector and really a lot of the B2B industry is that we're looking at quite long time scale. So like through personal experience, like it takes a little bit longer than some other sectors to sort of get things planned and pushed through and whatnot. So really kind of bringing digital marketing to sort of the forefront is quite key because, expecting it's not going to happen overnight. So it's good that, things seem to be sort of leading this way, but it's kind of a gradual shift, isn't it? And it's going to take a little bit of time. But I think it's something that these businesses need to be aware of and they need to be sort of focusing on. Yeah,
if you're going to do it well, stuff like with content, whether that's like video, still photography or even written content, good quality stuff is well planned and executed rather than just thrown together at the last minute. The actual outcomes of that investment, and it is an investment, it's not money that you're throwing away for no apparent reason. Marketing spend is an investment in your business, and it might have 6 month, 12-month lead into a final conversion to a sale. But especially in some of our clients who are producing very, very high value machinery, for example, even just that one sale will more than pay for any of that investment that will come.
But also you've got the buying cycle can be quite long.
So
you're not going to expect necessarily immediate returns from that investment.
It could be sort of 2 to 5 years from now.
Quite possible.
Yeah, because we wrote about that, didn't we? With the 95-5 idea, where there's only going to be potentially 5% of your audience in buying mode in any given quarter or month. So but you still need to market to that other 95% so that your name's there
when they're ready to buy.
Yeah. So what do we think about what the unique challenges are within the manufacturing industry specifically? I think the lead times obviously is a challenge if you're trying to kind of track the effectiveness of what you are investing in terms of marketing. that end-to-end conversion, well, tracking it for a start can be quite tricky, especially when it comes to sort of your expertise with, you know, which sort of trying to track how a video is performing and how that's kind of impacting on conversions. But yeah, so I think definitely it's a challenge, that long buying cycle as well.
So do you have any specific ways of measuring engagement? Is it down to, you know, actual numbers a lot of the time, or is it more of an experience thing?
Well, quite often it's anecdotal. Trying to get actual figures, I suppose, as opposed to maybe B2C where volume is all important. The B2C, you might actually only have a very small target audience. So let's say, for example, your video might have only 500 views. Is that a success? Is it a failure? Well, if it's 500 buyers of exactly the products and things that you're offering as a manufacturer, then that's not bad. If the purchase value is, you know, hundreds of thousands of pounds, you only need one. So I think there's a danger of getting caught up with some of those sort of, perhaps could call it vanity metrics. Oh yes, got so many views, but okay, is it just people people just watching your video because I'm interested, I like JCB's favourite little toy, but I'm not actually going to go and buy one. You know, I'm an accountant in an office, I'm not going to buy a JCB, I'm just looking at it because it's fun.
Because you like it.
Yeah. So those views, I think it's all about the quality of views, but quantifying that is difficult. And I suppose you can look and click-through rates. If you've got video in sites, you can see if it's increased dwell time. You can see if that's the part of an email campaign that they're clicking on. So you can sort of gauge the engagement that way.
Yeah, we do look at things with traffic to sites as far as intent is concerned. Is it, you know, buying intent, research intent, all those sort of things? Yeah, just a bald metric of we've had X number of page views or X number of visitors. Yeah, it's all well and good, but like you said, it's you know, is it quality? Is the intent of that to buy from you?
Yeah.
So
I think one of the big challenges as well from our perspective when we're putting campaigns together is with that long buying cycle. So obviously, for example, if we put together a 6-month LinkedIn campaign, or we worked with you on a video campaign, because the buying cycle is so long, and a lot of the time you're talking to the 95% who don't need something right now. You know, if you're buying a £1 million digger, you're not going to buy that every 6 months. You're going to buy that quite rarely. When you then come to analyse the success of the campaign, you're probably analysing it much too early. So you almost need to have a look back. So that person might have initially come in through a LinkedIn campaign, or through seeing the video promoted somewhere, or through a Google keyword campaign. But if they're not converting for maybe a year or so later, that's a much slower process than other industries face. So you could almost think something's not worked when actually it has, just not yet.
Yeah, it's all the sort of fairly Byzantine attribution models that Google Analytics uses, where, you know, so you've got, you know, so many different touch points across an engagement, whether that's paid, social, email, anything. So it's, you know, who's actually going to claim credit?
Yeah, so you almost need to look at different KPIs in this industry. So where a lot of the time we would look at, have they submitted a lead form or phoned you up or done a actual conversion? Actually, for this industry, have they spent a while on the website? Have they looked across several pages? Have they downloaded a white paper? There's probably different KPIs that indicate that they're engaging with you, leading up to nurturing that relationship over time.
Yeah, spotting the buying signals within somebody's customer journey.
And it's usually a high value, and it's a considered purchase, isn't it?
So high value, low volume.
It's not going to be, you know, people aren't going to buy whatever it is online. You know, it's not like a simple transaction. There's going to be sort of probably meetings, you know, telephone calls with various people within businesses, you know, the customer and the supplier and whatnot. So that's where obviously that leads then being nurtured, but it just muddies the water quite significantly when it comes to sort of trying to demonstrate the ROI of kind of the work that we do, really, doesn't it?
All these different touch points.
But then if you're not doing it, you know, all your competitors are. So if then you're not doing it as a business as well, then you're missing out. So
yeah, I think it's also important when looking at content is to try and think of other ways to get people to engage with you, because obviously until they engage with you, you don't know who they are. But it's unlikely in all industries that the first time someone comes to your website, they're going to want to make an inquiry. But we know in the manufacturing industry it's even less likely. So we need to look at things like gated content and giving things away. I mean, we've done it with some clients where we've done white papers where they've identified audiences they want to talk to. They've written quite in-depth pieces of information for that audience. We've done campaigns directing it to them. They download that white paper. They just have to put their email in to be able to download it. And then they've got that information they can use for nurturing them going forward. So they make sure that they keep in contact with those people until they're ready to buy. So it's going back to that 95-5 thing, but I think probably on the manufacturing industry it's probably even less than 95-5.
And I think you can create a lot of content that's evergreen.
Yeah.
So it's there, you make it, but for example, a video, it can still be valid in a number of years. Sure, if you've got a product launch, that's something that's relevant and topical. But if it's a more less event specific and it's more general about the product that you've got, that can sit on the website and that video is still working for you, 2, 3, 4, 5 years afterwards.
Yeah. And we often find that with content, actually you go back and refresh what's already been written rather than writing something new every time. So it could be that the content around the video can be updated, but the video remains relevant.
Exactly.
Especially if the video is going to be about process rather than product. So you might have a factory or an engineering setup which has a process to produce things, and those things they may well be completely bespoke every time. So you'd focus on the process rather than the product.
Yeah, and I think as well, a lot of the times your target audience might not specifically know what it is that they need, so they know what the end, what they want as the
solution
end
needs to be.
Yeah, but doesn't. So it's very much, when we're creating content, it's very much around that educational based, sort of talking about the process in a way that it sort of bridges the gap, because they just they might not know what it is exactly that they need to get their desired outcome.
We've been talking quite a lot recently about it. It's an old concept, but you don't sell somebody the drill, you sell them the hole, because the hole's what they want. That's the thing that they're trying to get. But the drills, So I need to drill I need to make a hole, and then we've got a solution for making holes in stuff.
I think a similar thing. I think when the first cars were made, I think it was said that nobody actually wanted a car; they just wanted a faster horse.
Yeah, that's the one.
They didn't know the car was the solution.
Because it's like, I suppose, with like newer stuff with 3D printing and trying to grab this out of the area, and additive manufacturing, things like that with short run pieces, it's a lot more possible at a lot lower budget than it might have been before. It's just and the technology for doing that, and the materials that you can do it with, are constantly moving, and people may not have considered that it was actually within their reach to have that as a solution. I only need 10 of these things, and to have them manufactured before might have been prohibitively expensive, but now with that sort of new techniques, it's quite possible.
I think another challenge a lot of the time is that people don't search for products. So I know we were working with someone a while ago who manufactured something that attaches pipes together. So they were working with both tradespeople and with kind of DIYers. And obviously DIYers do like we were talking about earlier, they search for what their problem is. So for example, I'm getting pests in through the holes in like the pipe work and that kind of thing. And the trade people use something else already. So it's not as easy as sort of saying, right, okay, so these are the search terms you need to be targeting, and we just write content to target those search terms. It's actually a big part of the audience. You need to go and find them. They're not going to come and find you. So it's a different kind of challenge. They're using someone else, and you need to find out how to get in front of them to say, actually, we've invented this, and it will probably work better.
I guess it's finding what their problems are,
Yeah.
what you're fixing, isn't it? So that leads the search in a way, I suppose. What solution? What does your solution fix? So we've got this great invention, but they don't know they need it unless you tell them, hey, we understand your problem.
And this is the solution.
And this is the solution,
yeah. And also a really good way of demonstrating a novel solution is actually to show somebody it working. It's okay writing about it, but that requires another leap of imagination for them to say, yeah, okay. But if you can actually show it in action with...
Oh yes, that's not surprisingly, I'm an advocate of that, definitely. Much better and has a lot more impact to show rather than to tell. And that comes at so many levels. For example, we worked with a manufacturer that was making smoke alarms, and you get your instructions, you fold them out, and they don't make a lot of sense. Instead, QR code on the packaging, scan it on your phone, it's got a video showing you how to do it.
Yeah.
I think IKEA should do that.
Oh, they definitely
Flat pack
should.
furniture.
Yeah.
Those instructions are a nightmare. If you could find a video that showed you how to do it, I think we'd all be much happier.
Yeah.
That'll sidetrack them.
And if you've given the QR code and they've gone to the video, the extra content that you can put around the video saying, we also sell stuff like this.
Exactly.
We also make stuff like that. It gives you that extra.
Yeah.
Where the instruction manual, you can't constantly update that with new products and new ideas, launches and stuff like that, but you can with a page with a video sitting on it.
Yeah.
I think a lot more people are visual learners, particularly now.
Yeah.
Nowadays we're used to screens.
Yeah.
My kids, for example, getting baking recipes online. See the video, see how it works, and then they do it.
So, how do we think manufacturers can create a digital marketing plan that aligns with their business goals?
So I think it needs to have lots of different features to it. So it isn't a case of just saying, right, okay, so there's 100 keywords, you need to work on your content and make sure you rank for all of those on your website, and that will fix the problem. Because as we mentioned earlier, that a lot of the time people aren't searching for something. So definitely there will be a set of keywords that you need to be targeting on your website so that you're ranking for them, so that when someone searches for that, you'll be found. But a lot of the time for manufacturers, it needs to be more sort of creative campaigns. So maybe working on LinkedIn and targeting people who have specific job roles that will often need to use your product, and actually running a campaign that puts you in front of them rather than waiting for them to come to you. And some of these things are quite difficult in an industry that is very traditionally offline.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time I think for manufacturers, they're just not used to knowing that all these things are available and that they can be done.
Yeah, I think it can be quite eye-opening to show just how targeted you can be with things on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But it's all about putting yourself where your customers or potential customers are, rather than expecting them to come to you. So
definitely.
just having a website, you're kind of expecting them to come to you because they're actively looking. But you can find it's like a trade show. If you want to, people will go to a trade show, and that's where the people are. So thinking about LinkedIn kind of like a permanent trade show or massive group of different trade shows is a reasonable way of going about it. I mean, the amount of data that they have about their users is impressive.
Yeah, definitely. And there are things you could do, like if you've invented a product that is a better option to these other 20 products that are available, you can run Google campaigns that target people that have visited certain websites. So it might be that you say, right, I want to run a campaign to people that have visited this page on the website that they would normally go to buy this product, and show them this as an alternative. So you really need to be more creative in how you can get in front of people rather than let them come and find you, because these days people don't just come and find you. You've got to be a lot more active.
There seems to be quite a lot of sort of received wisdom about, PPC doesn't work in a B2B environment, all these sort of things. But we know of a fair few companies who are actually doing very successful B2B PPC campaigns, and if I can throw any more acronyms in there, I will try. But paid advertising, is provably can work in a B2B.
I think what I've found is a lot of manufacturers, we make some great things in this country.
Yeah.
We're just not very great about shouting about them. I don't know if that's a particularly British problem or if it's more so in manufacturing, but there's a lot of great things happening. It might be in a little workshop and they're doing wonderful stuff, but it's what they do day in, day out. They're not necessarily as excited, or they don't see the story. And there's a lot of mileage in there, and you can get in there, ask questions, and that it's all about storytelling for me. There's so many opportunities, and as you were saying earlier, I think it's helping people understand what can be done. And
with video, you can really kind of get across that process, and often like quite complex things that are going on, and
exactly.
And I think it is interesting, when if you're in like a factory kind of environment, it's not every day that you get to see that kind of thing.
No, I think you've just got to look at some of the television shows inside the factory and things like that. People that have an appetite for understanding what goes on, but specifically to help marketing sort of B2B for manufacturers, video can definitely simplify. Sometimes there's things going on that you can't get to see, so maybe you bring in animation. There are different ways that you can sort of highlight what's going on. It's a wonderful tool.
It's just a means of presenting the information, isn't it, in a highly visually engaging way.
Exactly. No one's going to buy just from seeing the video, like we said. It's all these different assets, but if you can communicate, and a lot of that's coming understanding the message and who it is you're speaking to. So you might have, I suppose, marketing material in general, you might have a specific direction if you're speaking to the engineers and the real techies that are dealing with the intricacies and the specifications of what this thing that you sell does. So you might be talking to them in one language, which is a lot of jargon, but it's the things that they need to understand to know if it's going to sort their problem out. But you might have a different approach, and let's say in my case a different video, if you're trying to communicate maybe with the CFO or people like that who they don't want to know, and maybe they don't understand, but they'll let the engineers and the techies worry about the mechanics of it. They want to know what it's going to do for them. So will it solve my problem? And you're talking to them in a different language. It's sort of jargon free. It's like problem solution. It's like, okay, I'm interested. Engineers, does it work? You go and do all the checks. So it's finding the different audiences within a business if you're trying to sell into it, and at different points. So
like you say, it's the target audience here might be engineer to engineer, which is a completely alien language to most other people. But then the company might have environmental concerns as part of their sort of CSR policy. That's
another acronym.
So you might need to be selling that into their marketing or higher up in the organisation. So we need to address those concerns. And sometimes even purchasing decisions can come down to personality. If you can present the personality of your company, like we're not just engineers in a little room mashed away. We're actually like personable people, and we've got we care about the same stuff as you do. We're not I don't go for the environmental stuff again, because I suppose even with a business to business transaction, you do want to get the feeling that you can work with the people that you're seeing. So I mean, you might have you get a letter from the CEO on the website. You might get a video recording, so like talking. This is my company that was founded, and give background, and we're demonstrating. We've been here for a long time. We know what we're talking about. It's the EAT type stuff that we talk about with some Google signals, where you've got experience and expertise, authority and trust building. There's many ways to be able to do that.
That sort of thing you'd put in like a company overview video, just to give as it says, an overview, an introduction to the company, and you talk about all those sort of things. Definitely, sort of capabilities, your scale, but also your values and the sort of the personality of the company. So I think that's a useful tool.
So I was having a chat with a couple of clients before we recorded this to see if they could give us some guidance of specific problems and things that they have for us to chat about. And one of the things that came up a couple of times was that we work with a lot of companies or even innovators that are creating products that work with us to solve a specific solution, but there are already really big players in that space. And so, for example, unless they can get that product into Screwfix or B&Q or Wix or one of those big sites that monopolise that space, it's really hard to get their product seen. So they were sort of talking about how do they find where they can sit in amongst a really big player industry. And obviously I think we've talked about that a little bit already in the way that we've said, right, well, you need to, instead of letting your product be found, because it might not be unless one of those big places pick it up and stock it, you need to get in front of that audience. But I think that's another sort of area where people need to be a bit more creative, is that if you can't sort of get in amongst the big players, and when it comes to SEO as well, if there's certain keywords that you'll search for it and the top sort of 10 will all be these big sites that you're never going to be able to outrank. So then it's looking at sort of longer tail keywords or things that is sort of trying to be more creative with what you try and rank for.
Yeah, there's always the long tail is it's quite an old concept, but it does work. I mean, there's a big spike right at the beginning, but the people in that tail, all add up to the number of people in the top bit of the spike. So there is marketplaces are generally quite big, and you need to creatively demonstrate that you belong there. And once you've got people to you, you need to demonstrate that you are expert, you are reliable, you will be there in 6 months, 12 months, 5 years time to replace parts, for example.
Yeah.
So you can go and buy a bit of kit. It happens a lot in the sort of consumer tech space where you'll buy, I don't know, like a automated cat litter box or something like that. The company will disappear a year or so after you've made that investment, and you ended up with just a big lump of plastic which does nout because their cloud services have disappeared and it's all shut down. So there's many things that you do need to demonstrate in these spaces.
Yeah, I think you can be a lot more useful, a bit like we were talking about earlier with video. A lot of the time you don't buy a product, you mentioned it would be good if IKEA did it, which it would, but also like with B&Q, you buy a product on B&Q, you can very rarely find a way to actually see how to use that product.
Exactly.
Whereas if there's these smaller, more innovative people creating things that they do use video in that way and they do show you how to use the product, you can actually get a better service than going with a bigger company that the support's just not there.
And it could also potentially save you money as well if you've got an after-sales support department who are fairly hard pressed. Then that a lot of people ask very similar questions. If you produce a video, an easily accessible and findable video, then that can act as your after-sales.
That's an area that a lot of our clients are going with. The FAQ answered with video, explaining things, and you can create a lot of those quite quickly, and it's helping people with the sort of the media that they like to use. A lot of people, like we said before, prefer to watch and to listen than to read. That's the reality. Just look at home sometimes. People have got several screens on the go at once. It's the way of life, isn't it? So, video answers to FAQs, definitely.
And that will also be another way into Google's search results as well, because you'd obviously get your straight entries in the lists of results. You'll get people also ask. You'll get the video stuff as well. So
the AI sections.
With the AI overviews, they'll point to stuff like that as well. But it's a way of the more ways that you can get to describe the stuff that you do, the more potential you've got for owning that really nice top section of the search results
Yeah.
I think another area that can be quite useful is, I suppose, the social proof.
Yeah.
Even with B2B,
Yeah.
it's relevant. People making purchasing decisions generally quite risk averse, and if they're going to go and choose your company to do, install this new machine or provide whatever service, there's a bit of a risk. They want to know why you haven't gone with the leading supplier, why you've gone with this different company. So I think having things that can back up that sort of decision, so case studies, testimonial videos, and I think they're a lot more authentic. You can have a written quote from somebody, and perhaps some of those things on websites might not be quite genuine. It's easy to, Mr. Smith from Bolton said this. Actually getting someone on camera, you can see it's real, you can see the authenticity and like the emotion that they genuinely believe what they're saying. So I think those can be really powerful tools, and it also allows you to sort of dig a bit deeper. They can explain the problem that they had, how you came in with your solution and what it's meant, what's the impact been of getting this fixed. They can talk about the working relationship, not just the physical product that you're selling, but actually how was it to work with you? Was there back and forth? Did you understand the problem? Did you create something bespoke? So all those sort of things that really can help another company when looking at it. They've worked with someone similar, doing something similar. It sort of reduces the risk a little bit, gives a bit more confidence. So that's certainly a type of video that we're seeing a lot more now. Just look at, like, when we're doing things ourselves, when we look at TripAdvisor, we might read reviews on Amazon, Trustpilot, all those sorts of things. It's important. We want to know that they can do what they say they can do. So why not have that in a business practice as well?
One of the things that seems to be cropping up more and more is, like, when we're talking to clients and other people in our industry, AI and content production. So it's all your content, it's all your written content made with AI now, and it's like, well, we use AI to get to a point, but we wouldn't ever put pure AI content right out there. And we still strongly believe that there isn't any substitute for a experienced professional copywriter to go over copy, to give it personality. And people will say the same sort of thing about, I can whip my iPhone out and take a panoramic shot of my factory floor, or I can, I'll take a quick snap of my product, or, I'll do headshots for, my headshots of the team, all these sort of things, and it's good enough. And same with video. I mean, you can video on an iPhone, and you can do it reasonably successfully sometimes.
To me, I think with all of the things that you mentioned there, it depends where and how it's being used.
Yeah, it's probably a place for both. Exactly.
Definitely, let's say if you're just decided to pop into a trade show for the morning just to see what's going on, you're not going to hire a film crew to follow you. You'll get your phone out, you do a quick story, here I am today, just having a look around. You can edit it, CapCut, whatever it might be, get it out there, it's topical, it's timely, and it's forgotten about tomorrow. So the quality doesn't matter quite so much, it's more about the immediacy. You're getting it done and you're out there, people see it on the feed. But if it's going to be, let's say I'm talking about my area, the video, if it's going to be on the homepage of your website, if it's going to be on a massive video wall screen at a trade show, those sort of things, or you're going into your big $1 million pitch that you're going to try and win, you want things to look professional. So that's where I would advocate you bring people like us in, get the professional photographers, the copywriters, videographers to come in and tell that story and do it properly, but definitely room for both.
So is there anywhere that you potentially can't do video? Where it just won't work?
We can get around most things. I mean, it's important when we're filming is to do a recce. We don't just turn up with a camera and hope to get some nice footage. We'll go, we'll find out, we'll actually have a walk around, see the processes that we need to film, speak to the team there about health and safety, working out where we can go, what we can't go, what can be changed to make us, or to give us access somewhere. A lot of manufacturing, they have sort of light sensors and things like that you can't cross if you do cross it, it shuts the whole thing down. So we've got to be wary of things like that.
Yeah.
There are other things that we can do, but it's getting that recce that works out where we can film, and sometimes you can make changes that will allow us to do that. But that needs planning rather than sort of ad hoc on the day.
Yeah,
so most places we can get to film. Obviously, sometimes there are processes that are deep inside a machine that no one can see, and maybe that's where the animation comes in. You can highlight what happens there, so you can show people those internal processes.
So you do in-house animation as well, do you?
Indeed, yes. My colleague's been doing that for many years.
Cool.
I can't take the credit for that.
But yeah, I suppose it's like when people think about what's the investment into anything? It's like it's not just the time it takes to write 500 words. It's not the time it takes to do 50 product shots. It's not the time that it takes to shoot half an hour video, because it doesn't take half an hour to shoot half an hour video. It's like you've got the like I say, storyboarding, planning, health and safety, all these things that take into consideration. And with same with photography, it needs to be set up to work well. And the difference that the professional looking stuff can make to a website or a presentation or a trade show, is immense. And the same with written content. You can ask an AI to do it for you, but it doesn't generally feel right. You need to prompt it to write in such a specific way, and you need to know what you're talking about to make those prompts. So with tone of voice and audience and all these sort of things, it's never as actually simple as just like somebody just sits down, looks at your brochure maybe, and then just goes and scribbles down 500 words. There's a lot of experience and process and consideration that goes into making successful marketing content, and that's why hiring somebody like us or Martin can make the difference between you standing out and making a sale in a very competitive environment and your competitor who's done it better than you.
So there's been a rise in account-based marketing within the manufacturing sector over the sort of last few years. Why do we think this is gaining popularity?
It's people chasing really, really high value contracts. So it's investing specifically in marketing at a very, very specific person or very narrow group of people, and those people are going to be making X million pound decisions, and so you need to be talking directly to them. And now it's possible, like we said before, with spaces like LinkedIn, where you can say, right, I need to try. I guess some people might call it stalking, but I think that's quite probably a bit unkind. But putting the effort in
to identify who you want to work with, essentially.
Yeah. So it's in the past you'd possibly looked at directories and trade association books, magazines, and all that sort of stuff, and possibly even driven round a trading estate, industrial estate, looked at the people and actually gone and knocked on doors and say, hi, this is us.
Yeah.
And like, I want to go and speak to you. I mean, like going way back, like this is what, like people who were innovating in CAD software and all that sort of stuff back in the day used to do. You used to literally go up to people who they look like likely prospects, but now you can do that multi-channel and digitally.
Yeah, so we hope you found the chat about manufacturing and digital marketing and video within the sector. I hope you found it useful today. Thank you, Martin, for coming in. It's been wonderful to chat with you. And we will carry on the conversation. If anybody has any specific questions or any specific thoughts off the back of this, we'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, catch us soon on the next podcast.